With the custom shaping, it's like a whole new board without a hardware release.
Custom shaping all the way. We're actually tuning to the board's maximum potential.
There are so many things to get used to and mess around with.
Hey, so if you're new here, you might not know what custom shaping is. In surfing, different shape boards create different types of riding experiences. Now, you wouldn't want to use the same shape board if you're surfing knee-high swell as you would if you're surfing Mavericks. That's the same principle that we're doing here, just digitally. So although your board looks the same, you can change all types of parameters that are going to customize how your board rides and reacts in different situations. And you can use that whether you're riding on different types of terrain or you just want to have a different feel. Okay, now that we're caught up, Kyle, give us the rundown.
We've gone far beyond in this update what we've enabled with previous custom shaping like we had for XR. This is a whole new world with a lot more flexibility and a lot more opportunity to change how your board rides according to your preference and the terrain. This is a really exciting moment, and I'm going to give you a little walkthrough of some of the things that you can do in the new custom shaping. So the first thing that's new about custom shaping is that we now have this concept of base shapings. So each shaping that is already in the app, that serves as the starting point from which you can then customize. And that's really cool because before, custom was its own whole separate thing, and people found it kind of hard to get back to the shaping that they were familiar with and they really liked. So now you start with what you really like, and then you can take it from there. So the first thing that you can shape is called the stance profile, and that's whether you want to be riding a little bit nose up, a little bit nose down. Then we get to braking aggressiveness. We actually broke out how aggressive the board is when you're braking, so when you're leaning back, versus when you're accelerating. And that's something that some people have requested because sometimes, particularly if you're riding off-road and you get to a root or a rock or something like that, you want to be able to pop the nose up but not necessarily slow down. Then you get to aggressiveness profile. I like to think of it as like, this is how much Red Bull your board has consumed today. So if you turn it up, it's like it just drank 3 Red Bulls. It's super responsive. It's a little bit grunty. It may overreact a little bit. And if you slide it all the way down, it's just really mellow and a little bit less reactive. Now, if you tap the icon in the top right of the aggressiveness profile, it's going to switch to a totally new type of customization that we have called the advanced aggressiveness profile. And this is really cool for more advanced riders because it lets you actually change the aggressiveness based on the speed that you're going at. And so you see this little graph here with 4 dots on it. And these basically correlate to 5 mile per hour increments. The one on the far left, that's adjusting your low speed aggressiveness. The one on the far right is adjusting your highest speed aggressiveness. And the 2 in the middle are adjusting the aggressiveness along the way. You gotta bear in mind, this is all still based on your base shaping. So if you start with flow or you start with highline, you're gonna get a little different overall feel.
You can make flow anything you want now, so it's really all in your hands. It's pretty rad to play with.
I like that ability to put the aggressiveness up at the beginning.
So there's another exciting new slider that we've added that's called dynamic responsiveness. Dynamic responsiveness is how much you can move the board around under you before it actually compensates. If you slide it to the left, it's like a Wes Anderson movie. Nothing really happens, but you're having a good time. If you slide it up to the right, it's more like a Michael Bay film or something where everything's happening, the smallest thing creates a huge effect. And so there's an interaction between this and aggressiveness that allows you to really create mellow, fluid ride or something that's very stiff and tight and highly responsive. The next section, as we scroll down, is turn compensation. We've changed the name, so previously it was carvability. The first slider on here is roll. The board is calculating that it needs to lift the nose a little bit when you go into a turn. So if you turn that slider all the way down and you try riding a slow carve or a slow circle, it lets the nose go down while turning, which creates a feeling like you're riding on water. But if you slide it all the way to the right, as soon as you start making the turn, you'll feel the nose come up. If you're really trying to rail a berm or something like that, one of the challenges is you just run out of nose angle. And so if you slide this up and play with your speed as you're going into a berm, you can actually ride things that you weren't able to ride without custom shaping. The next part of turn compensation is yaw mix rate. What that is basically how fast the turn compensation is being filtered into the angle of the board. If you take it down to the slow end of it, it will both come in a little bit slower, but it'll also stick around a little bit longer. So that could be good if you want to get the nose up and then keep it there for a little while. And if you want something that's just really dynamic and really responsive to your turning, then you'd slide that up more to the high end of that slider.
Woo! There it is.
That feels good.
There you go.
Then you get to jump re-engagement time. What this is for trick riding in particular. During a trick, you might come off the footpad altogether. And this allows you to add a little bit more time where the board will re-engage immediately when you land on it. So wouldn't necessarily recommend this for everyday riding, but if you're gonna ride tricks, that can be super helpful.
So the last feature as you scroll down is zone engagement. And this came from feedback from Race to the Rail riders actually, that they wanted it to be easier to engage with a single zone if they need to hop back on their board, for instance. So if you put in single zone, the behavior is that you only need one of the two zones pressed when you come up to engage the board. Then when you're riding, once you get above 2 miles an hour, of course you only need one zone engaged, same as usual. But then when you slow down to below 2 miles an hour and you lift your heel, you can do a heel lift dismount, which is pretty cool. So it's basically a smart feature that changes the footpad behavior based on speed.
There's another important concept with digital shaping, which is presets. So if you find a custom shaping you really like, you can save it as a preset, and you can also share it with friends and share the love. Custom shaping for GT obviously has been under development for a while, but we're really excited with where it ended up. We've been able to add a lot more customization than we previously had in XR, affecting not only the straight line performance, but also turning in some pretty significant ways. And I think people are gonna really love exploring the way they can set up their board with the new custom shaping.
We're nose down. We're just not aggressive. But then I put these up just to see what this feels like when I hit this little side hit bermy deal here. I hope that was helpful to kind of understand custom shaping 3.0. We are just putting the power in your hands here. There's so many things to change, so get out there, play around with it. There's a ton of new features, right, that we didn't have before. I like that jump re-engage time, like that single zone engagement, like the acceleration graphing curve. There's just a lot. So, what are you doing this weekend? You're busy. Have fun. Custom shaping.